Hello and welcome to the May 2024 State of the Market. Al,
How you
how's it
doing,
going?
William?
Good. I'm trying to think of what's been going on. PWCC announced that they're doing something with Sotheby's, and they're also changing, or Fanatics is changing to PWCC. Or changing PWCC to Fanatics something, right?
Yeah,
Did you see that?
Fanatics Collect, I think is what
Yeah.
it was. I wasn't wrong, something like that. But yeah, I mean it's interesting, certainly interesting times in the market in terms of the eBay PSA transition, what that does. Hey Ed, how you going? So I think that's certainly interesting. The fanfare around PWCC are now Fanatics and Sotheby's. I wonder, I just from watching, I bought a number of things from Christie's baseball auctions, and it's just not their element.
Right.
Sell a piece of artwork for $5 million. Okay, that's Christie's or Sotheby's, right? And that's why they're like, oh well, $100,000 items. I just don't know. I mean, like, can you really have a full auction for 20 items? I mean, how? I know they said, hey, 4 auctions a year, 2 of them live. Are we going to see any soccer stuff in there? I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And even regular stuff, at least for now, kind of Golden has that market. Now, if you're ultra wealthy and you have an art collection and you have a few baseball cards that are like really, really high end, well, then maybe you just kind of bundle it all together and send it to Sotheby's. But I've never found them, and I've never found them getting particularly great prices, at least Christie's.
Yeah.
When they did. I mean, the occasional one-off, but most of the stuff I think underperformed at these elite auction houses. And by the way, I can tell you from experience, I've had $20,000 shipping bills from those guys. So just be super careful about, because they're used to the art. And so they construct these crates to ship your stuff. And I'm just like, what? And then, you can come pick it up in New York though, but you'll have to pay state sales tax. And I'm like, hell no. So, I think there's just a lot of things left to be seen on that, Fanatics, Sotheby's, thing. And honestly, for soccer, which is what we're mostly here to talk about, I think that's largely a non-event.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that it's another well-known auction house that's going to offer them. At least there's some effort to get them mainstream, into being like truly pieces of art versus just, baseball cards.
Old cardboard.
Like, I can appreciate the effort. I agree. Like, I just don't. It's going to take a long time for it to, if it ever funnels to soccer. And, I guess we'll see. But I can't imagine it's happening before I'm 80. So, but we'll see. And for the record, I am not 50 yet. So
yeah, I mean, and I never put Sotheby's. I never equate Sotheby's with mainstream, right? It's just like, I'm looking at some Sotheby's catalogs over there. I always contemplated buying art and had tracked the market for many, many years. And it's just totally different. Like a throwaway piece of art is what a maximum baseball card, gets. It's just like totally different markets.
Yeah.
It's just, like a disappointing sale is like $50,000 for a catalog item. And, for $50,000 in any given month is, a top 10, sports card sale, at least in certain categories. So
right.
Whatever. I think, I don't think it matters much to us. I do think that whether you like it or not, PWCC did create a brand And while I understand because of some of the hair around Brent and some of the other things there over the years, why fanatics may want to get away from it, I'm not sure that doesn't partially hurt them short term. Long term, I think it could be the right call, but I think short term, like I would have probably done a different branding strategy here. I probably would have said PWCC Marketplace, a Fanatics company for a while, and then I would have kind of gotten that synonym working for 12 to 24 months, and then I would have transitioned away. But they're having the bold move, and let's
At the end of the day, they essentially bought software, right? Like that's what
and a vault with an installed base and a customer list, right? With a pricing structure that they've already changed. Now they're charging the 3% credit card fee.
Yeah. Interesting things recently, right? Like they're starting to get the nickel and dime from different things, and like even PayPal or eBay was like, well, they're having issues with American Express, so now you can't even use American Express through eBay, which I have to imagine that's huge. Like that's a lot of profit lost for like American Express, but
yeah, they're just trying to get the rates down as low as possible.
Totally. Yeah, it's just like when you get the things with the cable or the channels. Oh, you're no longer going to get SEC channel or network, or whatever, because they're trying to play hardball with the channel. So
yeah, and then I just went through. I don't know if you followed that a couple of years ago when Costco, which does the Costco. It used to be an American Express card, right? And it was like I don't know, it was something like 15% of all of their volume was through the Costco credit card.
Oh wow!
At American Express, and Costco, being what Costco does, was just like, well, I'm taking it out to bid, and Visa won, and now all of our credit cards are changing, and now they're Visa. And American Express held tight on what they thought their value proposition is, and they lost that chunk of business. So it's interesting. American Express definitely holds their experience as a premium experience and has a pretty loyal customer base.
Yeah.
But is that going to prevent me from putting a Visa card on eBay? No. So
right.
So
yeah, not that loyal.
Yeah, I'm not that loyal.
You gotta do what you gotta do, right? Like
yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see how some of this. But again, most of these things are really non-events to the market, wouldn't you? I mean,
yeah, it's just one more thing to be like. It's just the consumer's getting whacked by things, and
where I'm a little surprised that we haven't felt kind of, because the vaults were consolidating and the pricing was still relatively low. I had kind of expected to see them ratchet the prices up in the vaulting services, but I think because of the eBay PSA merger, just getting it technically right is the most important thing for them now.
Yeah,
and getting the momentum and getting the PSA, vault / eBay thing working. So
once it runs smoothly, we're gonna see it.
yeah. And then as soon as it's working, and then we're gonna get jammed, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and then PWCC doesn't want to move, or Fanatics now doesn't want to move as be the first mover to take away their vault. To incentivize people to leave their vault because they're increasing their pricing. So I think this merger bought us, I don't know, 6 months best case, 18 months worst case, 12 months probably more realistic of still what I would categorize as extremely attractive vault pricing.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they figure their shit out earlier and try to jam us. Everybody's looking for new revenue streams right now.
Totally. All right. So I guess we can jump into some of these different auctions that happened this past month or so. So there was some things that popped up in the Heritage Auctions. So I'm just going to pop. They're all pretty much Pele autographed items. So we can kind of scroll through that real quick. But I'm going to try to keep an eye on them monthly just to see if there's any sales of interest. But basically, it looks like from here on up is all what sold this last month in May. Not a lot of actual cards, it's tickets, it's some of the same things. I feel like we've seen the same things getting sold, or there's just that many of them, you know what I mean, that are that people got. Whoever is selling all these Pele autos just had 1 million of them, and they're just selling them bit by bit, or we're seeing things get recycled already. I'm not sure.
I think it's a part of both. There was a tremendous amount of these, and I think a lot of them come from the Pele collection, which, as far as I understand, wasn't actually Pele's collection. It was just something. It was like in some relationship with a charity, and then he signed a lot. You can tell by the signatures; they're all kind of. I don't want to use this word. I don't know if I can think of a better one. Kind of deathbed signatures, but
yeah, late in life.
Yeah, and I hate to categorize them as that, but not super attractive signatures from my perspective. With a few exceptions, but yeah, I think we're seeing some reran, some flipped, and some remnants of inventory. That's my guess. I think it's all three.
Yeah, just like unpaid from previous auctions. Who knows? But yeah, thought I would just bring it up just because it's there.
And there's a lot. There was a number of these. I don't think any of them jumped out. I don't know for you. Any of them really jumped out. I mean, the Aquarella still got a good, what I think is a good price.
Yep, 7,500.
A lot of the smaller ones were like really low prices. I would imagine significantly below what they expected. But neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right. Just it's worth keeping track moving forward. So we're gonna go to Golden, the Golden Elite. And that ended last Saturday. And just have it sorted by the highest price. So we have a PSA 5 Aquarella for $10K, a 7 Best Rookie for $5,800.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, when you look at the actual grading, population, like 7 isn't necessarily like top. It's so I mean,
but I know that we used to say that it was weird that for those of you who hadn't been around the entire kind of time, we had a lot of those got graded in kind of the early days of the hobby, and they were all relatively, well, not all, but a lot of them were relatively good grades.
Yeah, like if you had a 4 or 5, it was like in the bottom quarter of all grades. So,
but I've got to believe that narrative has shifted. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking here. I got to believe the narrative has shifted.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the pop is now for
okay, so take a guess while I'm looking it up.
Oh, geez, like 70.
Okay, so we have. I would have said 80. We have 80, 95, 97.
Okay.
So we have 97. And now looking at it with the full context, right? Mm-hmm. There are 2 9s. There are 13 8/8.5s. And then there are 16 7/7.5s.
How many 7.5s?
There's only 2 1 7.5. So most of them are 7s.
So 16 graded higher.
Yeah. So there's basically 15 graded high. Yeah, 16 graded higher out of the, call it 100.
Yeah.
So it's still a top 20% card now, whereas before it would have been probably top 50%.
Right.
Right. So top 20%. That it seems, I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend on many factors, but I don't think you. I mean, I don't think you'd get totally. I don't see a ton of risk in a top 20 best card.
I mean, and it's like it looks really nice, like
Really nice
centered-wise.
centered. Yeah. So I think I'm feeling like more of the buyer here. Where does that put an 8 in your mind? I think we had an 8.
It sold for like 25, didn't it? Back in the.
I want to say, yeah, no, I want to say like there was an original 8 that sold for close to 50, and then let me see if I can find this on. I'll go to Card Ladder later. Yeah, so there was in 2020 an 8 sold for $700. But I'll do Card Ladder. But anyway, this was a really nice one, I thought.
Yeah, it looks like there's just like a line right here.
I think that's got to be a scratch on the surface.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about that in the Discord a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the general consensus on that one.
Yeah, I feel like that price is shit. It feels like it's right. Or I can't imagine it's seeing itself for like 3,500. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So the 3 8s to have sold $700 in 2020, obviously pre-boom.
Right.
51,600 in the middle of the boom, February 2022, and then the last one, which just sold in December, which I had a little bit of a question on, but let's just go with it as an 8, was basically 11,000.
Okay.
So this is 6,000 for a 7.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? If you have a little question on an 8, it's not going to be quite double.
Yeah.
So
and this
maybe
would be
this
a little less than
a better buy than that 8, kind of like, if you're comparing the two.
Yeah. So that's probably right. I mean, assume an 8 right now, double this, 11 to 12K. The last one sold for 11. So yeah, it's pretty close.
What's a 9 worth?
There's only 2. So 35.
Yeah, I can't. That wouldn't make me flinch if it sold for that. I mean, 2 out of 100. It's not many.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I would think. I mean, could be totally off there on the high. It could go for lower, it could go for higher, but I'd be shocked if it went for less than 20. And I'd be shocked if it went for more than 50, right? So, and I guess 35 is right in the middle. So there you go. There's my mental math, right or wrong.
Yeah, seems to make sense.
Hang on, was that an 8 Messi for 5,000, or was it a?
It was an 8.
See, that seems to me to be value there.
Yeah, that seems pretty low. I wonder if it was like a week.
It's a PSA slab, right?
Yeah.
So that I mean, again, we don't typically spend a lot of time following that, but yeah, the last one seen in October was 7,000. Well, I guess it was 5,900, so 6,000. So I mean, that's still down 15% in just a few months. Prior, I guess there's not 8s don't sell all that often either. So anyway, I also like that card. I like both of these cards as buys in this market for the long term, right? Could they go down? Sure, right? But I like both those cards.
Here's an 8 Ronaldo for 5.
I mean, also not bad, right? I mean, I don't know. Like the 9s sold last month. We talked about the 9s. They were selling for what, 9 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
And then the 7 sold for 4. Wow, doesn't that 8 feel like a good deal?
Yeah. Yeah, especially if it looks cleanish, you know.
Yeah, so and then on eBay, an 8 of the CR7 just sold for 5,200. So it did feel like a little light sale. I mean, I think you never want to ever tell any investors that and by the way, no investment advice here. This is all just for fun. That things can't go down because things that have been cut in half can always be cut in half again, right? So I've watched a lot of people lose a lot of money chasing stocks down, but I feel like you get to a point if you believe that soccer collecting will ever have a future in the long term, that we're almost to a point where you'd say, I mean, there's significantly more upside in a lot of this stuff than downside. Based on this consolidation that the market's been seeing. It's still a lot of money, 5,000 to throw at a Messi card or a Best card or even a CR7 card, but in the scheme of things, I think it feels to me like there's some value here.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the the biggies. It's not like the ones out like on the edges or the fringe. These are like big cards. So,
yeah, I feel like if you wanted to put together a world class, and I'm going to say common, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that means there's liquidity to the cards, and they're like top end cards and will likely be for at least multiple generations. I think you'd put the Best card, the CR7 Mega Cracks, the Messi Mega Cracks, all in a group of top 50 soccer cards that trade and have some level of liquidity. And if you in this thing, you'd get relatively high grade copies for 15,000, and you'd knock 3 of what I'd call the big boys off of your list in a solid grade. So I was just wondering to myself, I'm like, well, both from a pre-war and post-war perspective, if you had $100,000, which I know is a lot of money and not most people have access to that, but if you had $100,000, I think you could right now in this market put together an absolutely amazing collection of, not the top cards of all the best players, but
sure,
the top, 30,
but enough to have demand, moving forward.
The top 30% of most of the best cards in the hobby. And that's just a pretty exciting fact to me. I mean, assertion. I don't want to call that a fact. Right. I'm going to say an assertion. And which ones do you want to put in that group? Because if I asked you the top 50 soccer cards, you'd have a very different list from mine, right?
Yeah, but I think we would all agree upon like the top 20 to 25. They would be in our top 50, regardless if we,
Yeah, it may be 22 for you and maybe 43 for me or something like that. Yeah. And I think that most of the ones in your top 50, even if they weren't in my top 50, wouldn't be like eye raisers. They wouldn't be, I wouldn't be like, what the fuck? You've got a, I just literally grabbed a card here. You had a 1961, Schiaffino Nanina in your top 50, obviously not, right? It's not going to be that, right?
But, if he played in the 30s, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe it was his one of one rookie, but then it wouldn't be like kind of what we're talking about. If it was this one, then you may say, okay, that may not be in your list, but it was in my list, right? So, anyway, I think we digress, but I think it's very interesting because the market's, I think, getting to a really, really attractive long-term entry point. Could it go down 50% from here? Sure. But I believe if soccer is going to do well, these cards will need to do well.
All right, here is the PWCC Premier auction that ended almost a month ago. So we've kind of gotten staggered between PWCC and Golden, and we're almost a month behind. You know what I mean? It's almost like if we wait another week, we can get like 3 auctions in instead of 2 next month. But
yeah. Well, and by the way, one thing I didn't mention on the Ronaldo is that there's that Mega Cracks card. There's only 344 of those right now at PSA, and there's only 58 9s and 10s, so there's 32 8s.
So it's a top 20 card also.
30%-ish card, right? 27.
Yeah, if you're looking at the top or the bottom. Yeah.
It's still very, very attractive, card. So anyway, this, I mean, look at, there's a BGS 9.5 Messi going for 20. And we just saw an 8 PSA 8 go for 5. Was that a true gem? I can't remember right now.
No, there is a corners have a 9.
Yeah, so I feel like I'd rather have the PSA 8,
but the centering has a 10.
Yeah,
I agree. I would. I mean, but that's kind of based on you've mentioned it before. You'd rather have a good one step down than a bad top step. So
yeah, absolutely. So, and there's the 9 PSA Ronaldo for 9. So what did you think of that's a pretty strong price for the Alifa right now.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what we had seen when there was a lot of them getting put up for sale, like in that few month period. I think that was earlier this year, wasn't it?
It was, earlier this year, but mostly end of last year.
Okay, so, but yeah, I mean, we were seeing 2s go for like in the teens. So like in the maybe mid to upper teens. So to see a 2.5 up at 33, that's pretty good, like relative to those. So
how much do you think, and I know we won't really ever know, but the eye appeal sticker, how much do you think that matters?
I don't know. I don't think it does. I mean, they would be able to figure that out really quickly, right? Like, I mean, I see that, but like I see the PWCC A, but then there's other ones, right? Like, isn't there PWCC something? And
so the A is like the top 30%, and then the E is the top 5% or 2%, or I don't know.
I don't even look at it, to be honest with you. Like, that's never something that I take into account. So, I mean, maybe that's a bias of mine, thinking it doesn't have much impact. I mean, maybe people who are a little more or have less experience will take that and give it a little bit more value. But I don't even, it doesn't even enter my brain when I'm looking at these things. How about you?
I would say if I'm on the fence about the next bid, sometimes it convinces me to place the next bid. But I can't recall the last time that actually happened. So for the vast majority of the cases, not a factor, but I do remember 1 or 2 cases where it was my internal justification of going beyond.
Like, well, they saw it and they've graded it this. So
yeah. So I'm like, well, maybe there's something there. And then I did note that I haven't, I don't like when they put stickers on my stuff. So I usually get them and I peel the sticker off, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, but on that one that I got back from the vault, actually, I didn't peel the sticker off, and I left a little. They put a little thing,
that label.
Yeah. So I actually left that on, wondering if it could matter to somebody else.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, I wouldn't, necessarily remove it if it was something I bought, but I'm not gonna personally give it any but I'm not buying cards at the level that you are either. So I can understand you doing it more than me, like,
Yeah, but I'm really not. I mean, I don't know. I look at it. I find it interesting. I see some of them are oddly given that I don't understand. Like I'm like that's not a good copy, right?
yeah,
So it's not just a blanket thing. I also got. I mean, I don't even know how the process how they assess this, but when I sent some stuff into the vault, some of my things randomly got that.
okay,
And if you were to ask me ahead of time if I would have expected that they would have done that, number one, or number two, that would guess which cards would have gotten this thing, I never would have guessed. Right. So that also tells me something.
yeah. Or that's because that's based off of the ones that they've received, though, right? Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
saying,
I sent it into them and I said, look at
but
archive this.
yeah, but what I mean is like when they say it's like a top 30%, they can't base it off the population because they don't know what that is. So they have to be
Yeah.
basing it off of what they've received in, correct?
What they deem. And I'm like, how the hell do you know? How many of these have you seen? So
Yeah.
and then who's doing it? The guy receiving the stuff, making $15 an hour. Oh, I really like the look of this one. Let's slap an E on that, right? The whole thing is a black box to me.
Yeah.
But
I
I
guess that's
do.
why, like, I just don't take any account into it. But I have to imagine there's a reason they do it, and I have to imagine they do get a premium on those, or they
I
wouldn't
would
do it.
I would think that that's right because if it's completely independent and or it detract from the value, they wouldn't do it.
Yep. All right. Let's see. And here's the other four that ended.
These are big cards, I thought.
Yeah. So we have a 7 crack Campeonato Maradona for $9,000.
What do you think of that?
It looks nice. I mean, centering's a little off. I mean, it's a high grade, right? Like I can't imagine there's just 2 graded higher. It says it's a premium Maradona, right? Like it's one. I would argue it's a top 5 Maradona. So, yeah. I mean, if you're getting a top 5 Maradona that there's only 2 graded higher of, and you're paying under 10K, I mean, it doesn't feel unreasonable.
Yeah, yeah. I made a run at this one, but came up a little short. I was slightly concerned about the sizing, although you got to kind of trust PSA. It felt like mine had slightly fatter borders.
Do you feel like, I mean, so like I have to imagine, like, especially with like certain countries, like there's a range in sizes. So we can't be too critical on that. And also, do you feel like maybe over analyzing that could prevent you from making purchases? Because especially with just give PSA if it's deemed to be trimmed at any point, right? Like
you get the back. It's a process, right? And it's
totally.
painful and whatever. But there is that guarantee. So it was just, and again, I'm not saying this card is trimmed by any stretch of the imagination.
Correct.
I'm just saying that I looked at it and then I looked at this is also the problem of having held like 30 of these, right? Or more probably. And I looked at it versus a bunch of different cards, and I still bid strong. I'm not sure if I was an underbidder, but wasn't far from this. But I just got to the point where it was like, okay, if it turns out this is thin, and if I have to go through the process, is it worth the next bid?
Yeah, and I mean,
and
you're going to know that for yourself more than anybody else. So
I just hung it up. But I did. I mean, when I was originally doing the math, I'm like, man, this is a top Maradona, super hard to find in this shape. I mean, anything really above a 3 is still not super easy because most of them have been stuck. So I felt like there was value in this in this buy. It's just it wasn't quite where I wanted to be with it because of my perception of the card. Yeah.
So and that's something I feel like I don't utilize the guarantees available to me sometimes, because I'll like look at something and do say exactly what you said, or even on eBay, right? Like, and they have like if you buy it using PayPal, you're covered. So why not buy it if you think it's a decent buy, and worry about it after the fact? And like there's a lot of people on Discord that do that, and it's like, well, I'm just going to take the chance, and I might have to spend a little time dealing with it, but if it ends up being legit, like, this is fantastic, right? Like, I end up getting a deal or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, for if I had more time, I would definitely do that more.
Yeah.
It's just I have a ton of headaches in my day job, so I don't really want extra ones.
Totally get that. Yeah.
When it comes to cards. But there's right now, there's 200 of these Maradona 78 cracks, right? And there's only 2 8s and 3 7s. So I mean, another top 2% card of the card, right? Yep. That we're talking about, like we were talking about what was the other one? Top 2%.
What was the one that they're the best?
No, the best was top 15.
Oh, you're talking. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought we just saw it. Well, whatever. It's an elite card, and you think elite card, top 5 player, right? Top 7 player. That's why it just feels light to me.
I'm laughing at our old brains that we can't remember what we talked about like 5 minutes
ago.
We're going to
have to, let us hit pause and rewind the video to see what we just talked about 10 minutes ago. It's like, God.
I can't imagine if we're doing this in a decade, how fucking terrible this is going to be.
Can you imagine? It'll just be one rambling shit show.
How does this work again? Like, I can't figure out how to work StreamYard anymore.
What button do I hit? Oh, shit.
How does this stop?
Yes, I mean, this is one that had a lot of emotions, of course, the Puskas.
Yeah. I really want your thoughts on this. So it's a 7. It looks like the corners are a little, it look like the top corners are a little bit soft, right?
Yeah.
But a 7's an incredible grade. A lot of these are really low grade or authentic, right? You have a 9.
Yeah, I think that that this, I mean, and then it adds the drama that this card raw was sold to Scott in the auction and at like 10,000. And so on this card, actually, if this would have been a different card under a different situation, I probably see value here. But because I didn't want to put money in the pocket of the
somebody who backdoored Scott,
that backed out of Scott, I wasn't even close to this. I think I put a $15,000 bid, and that was it, right? So there were obviously a number of people going after this. What is a hobby important card to my eyes, but I just I felt like this should have been Scott's.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really bothered by, this one it had the lines on the far right-hand side and then didn't have them anywhere else. And I'm kind of like, hey, if you're going to cut outside the lines and cut outside the lines everywhere or nowhere, kind of my OCD kind of brain was at it. But still, it was still a great card. It was a great card. And, I think you can make a case that it went strong and you can make a case that it went weak. So I think I don't know. That was kind of my thought. I kind of expected it to go right in this ballpark. I think I was guessing, somewhere between 40 and 60, almost at the middle of that. And, it is what it is. There is 1 8. I'm not sure if they said that. Oh no, they said just one graded higher. There's actually an 8 and a 9. So, and there's 3 7s, surprisingly, 1 6 and a 5.
Okay.
So.
And how many total?
14 in total. So yeah,
okay.
So 1 5,
so
1 4.
A percentage of high grades because it's in a sheet and people that find the sheets can chop them up. So
yeah, if you think about it, 7 and above. Well, let's just go 6 at the midpoint. You've got 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 and above is the midpoint. So there's as many 5s to 9s as there are authentics to 4.5. So yeah, you're right. So there's a 9 and 8, 3 7s and a 6. Well, the 6 that I have, I mean, they're all cut from sheets, just a matter of when.
Well, right. But yeah, I mean, like I do recall seeing sheets available like in our collecting years since you and I have been collecting. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I know that there's people out there that still have the magazine with or the album with the sheet in it, and we'll probably see more as they come out. How many, I don't know, but like I would imagine, I won't be surprised if we see a few more come out. So
yeah, I kind of in my thought process expected there to be roughly 30 graded, by 2026. Right now we're at 14. I actually wonder if I could pull the graph over time. But anyway, I that's more of a gem rate thing that I'll have to figure out. But I think the growth rate's been slightly higher than what I expected. I think but these are such small numbers, 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah, it changes it. So
yeah. I think I had us down for in my projections. Hey, by 2026 we'd end up with 30 by the World Cup. So that's basically 2 years away, and I thought we'd be at 12 right now.
Okay.
But anyway, again, 1 or 2 makes a big difference.
Okay, we're gonna bounce to a couple of the PWCC weeklies. I just have it set up to be through 1980 and sorted by price. So here we have a 2. And see, there you go. There's a 2 Alifa that just sold for 12,000.
And the 2.5 sold for 33.
Yeah. So this one definitely looks rougher, right? Like, I mean, it just looks like more rounded. The edges are a little more.
Yeah, the edges white. Are definitely dinged. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this next one shows you that, another one that's been cut like from an album, surely, right? Recently to get this 9, the record, and people are willing to pay up for those top grades of something, regardless of how recently it's been cut from the item. So,
and the what do you call it? The Gazzetta there next to it.
Christian says an Italian guy sold an uncut 46 Nanina sheet for €400 a few months ago.
Wow.
Well, that's going to be a regrettable sale for that vendor.
Yeah, hopefully that vendor doesn't know about PSA and doesn't check things. Otherwise, they'll feel pretty crappy about themselves.
Totally.
Yeah, but another hand cut one there at 4,000, right?
Yeah.
So hand cut items, which usually have somewhat of a negative, hobby aura. I mean, at least the record was meant to be cut that way. The Puskas was meant to be cut the way. The Gazzetta, of course, not. But doing really well. I'd say surprisingly well to me.
Yeah, that's a surprising result to me, at least. But I think there's a lot of buyers, especially with Pele's, that maybe don't necessarily know where those originated from. And long term, I mean, you're getting a Pele, 1958 Pele, regardless.
it's cool looking.
Yeah,
it's with Garincha in this way that they cut it out. I prefer that cutout, just like I do the record.
Yep, I agree.
I prefer that, but yeah, interesting. I missed on that double pack. Super interesting.
Yeah, that was not even torn apart.
Yeah, they actually, if you get the 1970 album, these packs are actually slipped on the fold in the back. So you bought the album and you got 2 free packs.
Gotcha.
And they weren't perforated; they were just slipped in there.
Okay.
So that when you close the book, you had the packs in there. So somebody was able to extract them and get both of the packs rated as a 9, which I thought was pretty special. I fell asleep, like in a figurative standpoint, when this was going on. Otherwise, I probably would have gone for my pack collection to get this one, but missed it.
I gotta say that's happened to me a lot recently with PWCC. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, it's like 10 o'clock, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing like where I'm at with some auctions, and then the next time I think about it, it's like 10:50, and I'm like, well, what's still available?
Exactly. 80%, 85% of the stuff closed already.
Yeah. I do have to say, just completely randomly, is the auction coming up, I bid on more items than I have since the boom.
This PWC auction this weekend is just chock full of big boys.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun to like watch everything. So
yeah, this is the perfect weekend not to have my wife at home, because it's just like, yeah, there's gonna be some entertainment. Maybe we get a Discord call or something going, because it's a big night on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm down.
This Maradona Campeon though was crazy, in my eyes, a crazy good deal. A 4 is just a high grade for this, and it's 1,700. It's cardboard. You may not love the picture, but this picture is used again on 79s. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just thought this was a really good deal.
What would you expect it to be like?
I thought 2,500. I actually thought it was going to go for. And again, I didn't bid on that, so I wasn't watching it. I have a 5, I think, but so it wasn't like I needed to add something else. I'm not actually trying to add other things, but if I would have seen this, I would have said, "Dang." Like in the post-mortem, I'm like, man, you could have gotten a PSA 7 this month, PSA 7 crack 78. And this, which is, there's only
like 11 grand
for like, 11 grand. 2 of what I'd legitimately call the 3 rookies.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like that Titularis was kind of low too. I think this is the one that had the really good back too.
Yeah, let me see here.
I don't know if it was this one, because there's been a few out there.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. There's like a few marks, but it's like pretty clean. You can read everything.
Yeah, you could read everything. And 1,500, and that pop has not moved much.
No.
Still.
So what do you think about this Bernabeu?
I thought it was a really, really high price.
Yeah. It was mind-blowing to me. Now, maybe there's less of those than I think, but like I feel like that's not the case. But that's pretty amazing to see. I mean, I don't know if the word rookie got people, it's a good grade, but yeah, I was pretty stunned by this price, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I actually would have been stunned with the price if it was 40% of this.
Yeah, 500. I would have been pretty surprised.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like it's a new entrant that doesn't understand. Okay, Ed, man, you got to ask some questions before you go paying. But there has to be somebody else bidding behind.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one, so let's not like be. I mean, it's not like Al and I don't get out of touch on prices of things, So like, yeah, there's so many things out there.
I just, I just feel like, and he actually, this isn't his only issue, and there's a lot of muddied water around the 1922 date in Spanish issues in general. So, I mean, obviously super important, especially for a Real Madrid fan or people from, that like that part of the history. It's great, and there are other great looking postcards. So
yeah, and that was the other thing. It's a postcard, so it's like that was the other thing that kind of made it more surprising to me. But we're starting to see more and more of those start to sell for a little bit more for, for things that you can't find of player, cards of players or whatever.
I mean,
so.
look they're great items to collect. I just, yeah, there you go, Ed. You're right, man. Don't get in the way of this guy. He's setting the market, and watch out. The Ricardo Zamora market's about to go on fire, as is the Paulino Alcantara market.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because Ed's getting in. There you go.
I like to hear it.
Yeah, just don't try to buy a Bane Shield these days. He'll roll you over.
That's right.
Look at that. And that's a beautiful 8 on the Vecchi Garincha.
Yeah.
Again, by the way, both that Barambau and Garincha are like crazy high grades. Normally, you'd find the 1922 stuff in like 1 to 2s.
Yeah.
And you'd find this Vecchi stuff the same. So, there's definitely some massive premiums being put on high grade items. There's the second Djalma rookie.
Yep, for 700.
After I paid $2,000 for mine, this one goes for 700, right? So
there you go. Al setting the market.
Yeah, that's what happens, Ed. Watch out. All in my footsteps.
We haven't seen one of these, the Platines, come out in a long time. The
I was a little disappointed. I actually
I was surprised at that price. I think it's the date, like it gives it as a 54. On the PSA label. So I think that's what affected it.
These were expensive, back in the day. I mean, so this is one where, I'd say that's slightly higher than pre-boom pricing, but not dramatically. I would expect pre-boom those to be like 250 to 300.
Yeah, that's exactly where my brain went.
And so, to see one post-boom, and it's really kind of cool. I kind of like this. Like how things were issued, like in baseball, Negro League Baseball, there was like one set that was issued in, milk.
Yeah.
Like not like a milk carton, but like a, dehydrated milk, like a powdered milk. And these are actually issued on detergents.
Yeah.
Laundry detergent. And I just find that so interesting when you find a different distribution.
Totally.
And I kind of like that. And these are always good. There's a red version for those of you who don't know. There's some back variations that PSA doesn't recognize at this point. But I personally like that card and thought it was a cheap buy. And I think I didn't even notice the 54 because I had 53 in my head when I saw it and I didn't even read the label.
Eric's asking if there's any chance we might cover collector cards below $100, like these Garincha PSA ones that went for $20 to $30. Eric, with the auction being these so many auctions we have to cover, we have to kind of go for the big hitters for the state of the market at least. It's just hard to cover everything because we'd be scrolling through thousands of cards.
Yeah, I did mention, and it came on the premium. For those of you who don't know, we have a Discord channel. The link's right below. Come and join us. Have nearly 1,000 people in the group. And I had, been polling some of the people in the premium section, and there seems to be a desire to do kind of top 20 sales that were under $100 that month to try to kind of guide, people pockets of the market of weakness. So it's been something I've been considering doing. So maybe we do something like that, or maybe I just do it. I don't know, but it's just been. I haven't found the time to do it yet, but I would like to do it because I know that not everybody has like $5,000 or $50,000. Those are interesting to talk about, but what a lot of collectors want to know is, hey, I've got a $200 a month, budget, and I want to, invest in a couple soccer cards this month. What are some things I should be looking at? And the real answer to that, Eric, is there's a tremendous amount of good stuff out there. So, you know, I would definitely recommend joining the Discord, listening, watching, and getting a sense for things and find out which direction you want to go. Like if you were just mentioning Grinchas, there's a tremendous amount of great value Grinchas, especially in the 60s, that are, you know, incredibly accessible right now. And even some really rare 1950 ones, you know, can be had in that sub 500 category.
Yeah.
Before would have been, you know, potentially thousands of dollars. So anyway, join the Discord, come along, but that's really not the format of this show.
I mean, maybe we can do like a satellite show, you know, that maybe every month you and I get like a like X $100 to spend, and you and I can do like a short show, like a 30-minute show on what we would have bought based on sales or something.
I think the one general problem that I had when I look at that is like, okay, you know, we identify, look at this Garincha card went for $30. Most invariably, the next one of that is not going for $30. That's the one that I, you know, because not that we move the market, but I think that the soccer card market in general is a little starved for content. So there's not, you know, super small and nichey, but a lot of people watch the same things. And so, you know, it could create, I noticed that like after I do player videos back in the boom, I'd post a video and then suddenly like all things of that player were suddenly like off of eBay in like, you know, 3 hours, which that's also not the point. So I want to be careful that those wouldn't be videos of telling people what to buy. So
yeah, it'd be like what we think was a cool card at this price point or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
So, but a good idea. And that's something that we probably really do need to address, you know, rather than just talking about the high dollar cards. So thanks for that.
Hey, by the way, I checked the Titularis pop reports as we're sitting here, and the 50, which is the horizontal one, has 90 now graded, which was slightly more than my brain had 70.
Yeah,
so it's slightly more than I had thought. And then on the 86, which hadn't checked in a while either. The pop on all three different versions together, since PSA does not differentiate, is 47, so roughly half. I think that ratio stayed relatively.
That makes sense. Ed says he bought that Di Stefano, so good job, Ed.
Yeah,
I like that one.
In aggregate, both of the you made
out. You flip those, and I'm happy with the purchase.
There you go.
All right. Here's what the earliest card known of Alcantara for 1915 Barcelona. So that's, you know, I don't feel great about that price.
I mean, I think it wasn't great condition. I love the card, and it's just ever so slightly too big for a standard holder. Like I'd love the card even more if it fit in the standard holder. You know, $400 for, I mean, it's also just a great team shot. Like I can see how this would appeal to team collectors. You know, I don't know. I could talk myself into this being fine to pay this. I could also talk myself into saying that it was expensive on a condition sensitive basis. So
yeah, I think 400 is you're buying the earliest known issue of Alcantara by 6 years.
Shot. Yeah, 6 years.
So like regardless that it's a team, I think that adds a ridiculous amount of value to it. And so I feel like 400 is a good buy personally. But
yeah, I think. And did you look at the condition?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
I just bid on it.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, that's a great way to go, Bill.
I mean, I know what they are, so I mean, regardless. I mean, the back, the back is fine. It's got staining, but you can
Yeah,
see
there was
everything.
some staining on the back, and then the front, I just felt like it was a little more mangled. I'm a little maybe more
A little more bearish than I am.
Yeah, I mean, just because I feel like, I know this says that it's 1 of 1 and just one graded higher, but I've just seen better copies.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I look at it and I'm like, okay, if I had $400, could I find a copy I would feel better about in the market? And I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
It probably means that I have to buy it raw, sweat it and grade it. But I felt like, I could probably do that.
Okay.
Maybe wrong, but this is an easier thing to get something, what it is. You also risk when you do that, it comes coming back authentic or altered, which then you're out, right? So there is value there in the fact that it's already graded and it wasn't altered and you got it here and it's in your vault and you're done, right? So there's definitely value there. So that's why I say I could kind of convince myself both ways. And to me, it's one of my favorite all-time team. Forget about Alcantara, just the image of this with, the background building and then just the position of the players standing there. Like they said, hey guys, turn around, time for the picture. And then they all kind of just turn around. It's just such a classic moment. I love it.
Yep. All right. We'll bounce from there. We're just going to scroll real quick to the one that ended this last week. So we have the Uwe Sila 5 that sold for $1,500.
Big price
which is a strong price.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, there's not a ton that we don't see like this Eusebio too often.
Yeah, and that's actually another hand cut one, which again goes to the thing about, wow, I have this in an uncut sheet, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm not shelling out $600 for that particular one. And there's a lot of them. The Peroteo right next to him, it's really rare cards. Not the best copy, but still a solid copy. And I kind of expected this to do a little bit better than it did. But I mean, it's still kind of a cool card. These Portuguese stickers are tough from the 50s and 60s and 40s. And this is on the what do they call them? The 4 violins. The Travassos rookie. Not a particularly great cut on this one, but that one did 400. Very kind of a niche-y player, but
that's a good result in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it's a good result, especially given the quality of the sticker.
Yeah,
I think if it was better centered and stuff, it wouldn't have surprised me. It did surprise me, and how close it was to the Peroteo. Like, I'm like, yeah, Peroteo's up here, like 2 steps above, and there's not that 2 steps in the pricing.
Ed says, thanks for making him feel bad about his life. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for watching, Ed.
Yeah, just turn us off, Ed.
Yeah, mute us.
Yeah, I thought that was. What did you think of the Casablanca Varek there?
I mean, it's probably correct. You don't see too much of those listed, but I don't think he's like fully a known commodity yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's the people that do know are excited to add to their collections, but I don't think there's enough pent up demand to really drive the price. So I feel like that's reasonable. How about you?
Yeah, I thought this was a little high because look, don't get me wrong, there's not a ton of them out there. I think there are more out there than we think that aren't graded. It's oversized. I think he has some other ones that are, a little tighter, a little cuter that sell for less. So I think with the combination, now it's a great image. So as a display piece, I think it's awesome. But this is one where I'm like, okay, again, if I got the $400, do I hold and think I can find it cheaper? And I think the answer is I probably can. And then it was only authentic, I believe, as well. So
Correct.
authentic, oversized, non-rookie of one that I felt like there's more of. I'd probably rather have the 53 Bruguera that fits in a small one at half the price that I think went a week or two ago. So that was kind of my thought on this. I mean, again, I'm not criticizing the buyer. I think it's a great image. I love it. I just think that if I had the time, I would probably not.
Yeah, if you're gonna have that money, you would throw it at something maybe different of his.
Or the same thing. I think I could get the same thing cheaper over time and non-graded.
That's fair.
I love that little guy. Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. The Angola Uruguay team photo from 28. I feel like this was one of those ones where I completely blanked and didn't bid. But I feel like that's a good price for a team card, like I think I had
what a great team though, right? It's
totally.
1928, yeah. Right? I mean, I think that team and this card, and this is actually kind of, have you ever held one of these Angola Sports from 1928? So they're like photographic. It's really kind of cool. It's like a mini picture gloss on them.
It's like the Fatima. The baseball, those team ones.
I don't think I've held one of those in person, but it's like it
kind of looks like it. Like
the ones from El Salvador, La Moderna. You ever seen those? Yeah. And they sometimes would color paint them, especially like the Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig's. Anyway, this one is like a little kind of mini photograph.
Okay.
It's like even smaller than a tobacco card, though. That's the one thing I mean, it is a tobacco card, but it's like a little bit less than like a T206, right? So they're all jammed in there, but it's a super, super cool card. And the fact that it's from Africa, I mean, it's so hard to get anything out of Africa. I think that to me adds something to it. I didn't win this either, but if I was paying more attention, which I definitely was not this last Sunday, I would probably be, in retrospect, I may have thrown an extra bid on this one. I just love this card.
All right. There's a couple that are just from eBay that I just wanted to pop on there real quick. So here was the Crying Pele that just sold for $4,000, which is just like, that's a huge drop from what we saw in the past. And granted, it's in the bigger holder, but it's a 5. It's like, it just feels like that was like, as a buyer, I'm stoked. As a seller, I'm ready to vomit.
Yeah, I honestly, again, I just have not been on buying enough of this stuff. When I saw this, my stomach rolled. Thinking to myself, man, I would have paid $1,000 more easily for this.
Oh, for sure.
This is just such a, there's only 5 higher than this, and it's one of the most epic cards and photographs. Again, these are more photographic in nature. I just, the holder, everything that you said, I totally get, but I think this is one of the deals. This is definitely one of the deals. And you know what? You can have this Daddy Pop. You could have this reholdered,
right?
For $20 and have it in the right holder, and totally different gig. A 5 in this sticker is like, there's still only 27 of these graded. I know we feel like there's more, and of the 27, you've got 13, 16 are 2s and below, meaning that there's only 6, 9, 11 never stuck copies.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. right? So
yeah,
it's an epic card. I mean, this is the deal, I feel like, of the last month.
yeah, like of what we've seen, totally.
Yeah.
And then one other was just something we don't see for sale a whole lot. Is a Collinville.
I know it's off center, but I thought this was a hell of a deal too.
Yeah, I agree. So Collinville, Bobby Charlton, rookie. Man, those things are tiny. It's like a postage stamp, essentially. It's interesting because I think there was a Jimmy Greaves also that sold at the same time, and just relative to what the Greaves went for, I feel like the Charlton was a pretty big bargain.
And what did the Greaves go for? What was it graded? Do you remember?
It was like a 4.5 or a 5. I can't recall exactly offhand. And it sold for like about just under half of this, I think, or maybe 40% of this, something like that. I just feel like Charlton, the multiplier on him's
like at least 3x,
yeah,
instead of 2x,
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this one is definitely off center, but look at these tiny things. Like, how can you imagine how hard it is to get that like cut centered, cut well every time? So, I have to imagine that these things were just like chopped up and thrown in. So, yeah, it's just a couple of interesting ones. Also, if you join the Discord, there's links to a soccer auction Discord as well, which Matt Hendler runs, and people share auctions, soccer auctions throughout the world on there, and it's kind of a good resource to pay attention to. If you don't have time to do all the searches on your own, a lot of times there'll be some things you didn't find before get posted, and totally worth joining. So if you want to know what the link is, or get a link to that,
free too. So
just hit Al or me up, and we can send you a link, and or join the Discord, and we can post it in there too. So, yeah. That's pretty much everything. We're another month in. We're almost halfway through this year.
Yeah, I mean, literally in 2 days, right? We were 13 days ago, right? Or how does that work? Are we? No, we're 15 days away.
Yeah, from halfway.
Hey, Bill, where was the 1938 World Cup?
Was that in Munich?
It's all good. Just checking the brain. Every now and then we gotta rattle ourselves.
Yeah. So I still feel my ego got just destroyed that evening. So
it's all
no
good,
need to bring it up, Al.
It's all good. It's all good. We're a little mush, I mean, we can't. We got the champ on here. That's pretty good. He did a 3-hour live this weekend, which was, he can hold it together for 3 hours, man. That's longer than me. I'd need multiple bathroom breaks at my age.
Yeah, and some stimulants, coffee. So, yeah, that's that. I don't know if we're going to be doing another one of these before we go to the national. It might be after. I don't know. We'll see. It might be the week before we go. We'll see. I got to check the schedules and when the auctions end. But nationals coming up next month. And so we'll be headed down there. So if you get a chance, look for us or hit us up and let us know you're going to be there. And we'll try to, say hello. We're also going to be doing the soccer national, which runs at 6 p.m. 6 to midnight, I believe, each night after the national. So if you don't see us at the national, stop by because we're going to have a booth with some of our cards. And it'd be cool to say hello to everybody. So that's it. Appreciate you guys watching. Al, pleasure.
Take care, brother.
All right. Good night, everyone.
See you, everybody.